We are doing episode 2. I'm Athena, and
Charlie.
I'm sitting here with my life partner, husband, business partner, my part-time comedian. He's the father of my children, and a dad dog.
Dad dog.
Which I know you love that dog.
I love that dog.
So anyway, I would like to thank you guys for joining us for episode 2. If you haven't got a chance to listen to episode 1, that kind of just, it outlines who we are, and we talked a little bit about some of the stuff that we're into, and we just wanted to share with you a little bit more of a deep dive into our Alaska medical transport business and what that's about.
Adventures.
Yeah, that is another adventure, yes.
So 2019, we started purchasing our first vehicles.
I think that being ambulance, is that what you're going with?
Well, if we're doing the ambulance side of it, yeah. We kind of we touched on basis on the
starting like in the very beginning was
well, yeah, AMT got it moved over, yeah. So BAC used to have the wheelchair business, then we moved it over to the more of the medical side of it, and then we started AMT on that. What year was that?
It was at the end of 2019.
Was that when we switched over to AMT?
We officially became Alaska Medical Transport for that division.
So we started that side of it. BAC used to have it, and we used to have BAC logos and emblems on the vehicles, and then we kind of switched over. And then when we decided to get into the ambulance side, we started to get into the non-emergency medical stretcher side of it. And then we switched over the wheelchair division over to it and had one division that was just running that whole entire, that side of the company. So I think that was the start.
Yeah. Technically official start.
Then 2019, I think we were gone on Athena was speaking at a conference for Limo Anywhere, and it was through BAC, and I was keyboard warring it on eBay or one of our, government websites. It was one of our government sites.
Yep, that was a government auction site, yep.
And I found an ambulance. I called Athena. I said, hey, I found an ambulance, and they really want us to get into ambulance service. We can do stretcher services. And there's a lot of need for, sometimes people need just transports from point A to point B, but they're just bed bound and they didn't need paramedics or EMTs to take care of them. So it was a really light way for us to get into it, which we knew that we wanted to get into BLS and ALS down the line, but this is a good start for us. So we kind of jumped into it. And so as we're down at that function down in Texas, if I remember, that's where it was at.
Yeah, it was in Texas.
I flew to Oklahoma and bought our first ambulance, then drove it from Oklahoma all the way down to Texas to meet Athena down there. And we had one of our other managers who was with her down there. And then that's how that kind of got started. And then as she was at this conference, 3 more of those ambulances came up in Wyoming.
I know. And it was just like, I guess we're doing this now. So it was a question of just...
I was just trying to buy 1 more, but I was bidding on 3. And then I got this one. And I got the second one. I got the third one. I'm like, oh my word, I think it's going to kill me.
So now you guys know my life. This is how I end up with so much stuff.
In 1 week, we bought 4 ambulances.
Yes.
Where we almost doubled the private ambulance fleet in the state of Alaska in a matter of 24 hours.
Yeah, well, that wasn't something that I really had this like passion to get in that corner of transportation on, but I saw how much you wanted it. You wanted to do this, and this was fun for you. And so it was like, yeah, okay, let's do that. And I remember that being a decision that I made back then, is it's like, yeah, it makes sense that this is another revenue stream of business. So my business sense was like, yeah, let's do that. But I just saw how happy you were to have something that had LED lights on it and sirens.
Well, I think it was a little bit more than that. I think it is the community service part of it is helping people, fire, EMS, police, all that stuff. I think it's more of a calling than it is a job for a lot of people. And when I spent time in the Cordova Fire Department and all the way to the Valdez Fire Department, to North Star Volunteer Fire Department, to Girdwood Fire Department, to going through the Fire Department Academy in 2005 and Anchorage Fire Department Academy in 2005, and was blessed to go through such a great academy. And they definitely let Girdwood people get into it. We were one of the few that did, and it was a life-changing experience. And it was a lot of hard work and dedication, but just a lot of people that just really cared about people. Yeah. So I fell into that. Yeah. So I was excited when we got into the ambulance service of it. It was a lot of nuances that we didn't have any idea. Again, we kind of jumped into it and figured it out down the way. And we were very lucky to get Doug on our team. Doug was, he helped start Guardian Ambulance, and he had a lot of background into that. And Doug was really helpful. And then we got some other great team members from Anchorage Fire Department, we got Pat Vincent. We were lucky to get her. She was an EMS supervisor, coordinator, paramedic, instructor, 3, 2, and 1. So we had some good people coming on our team that had experience that was leading us through how to get through the state, how to get through our DEA license, how to get all of our stuff. And then, yeah, it was just a whirlwind. And then, of course, you know, the big pandemic happened. And that was a really interesting time for us. COVID came up in 2020. In fact, we were gone on vacation when this was all happening.
Yeah, we were in Thailand.
And then all of a sudden one day, nobody's wearing masks. And the next day, everybody's wearing masks. And then we're asking what's going on. And, you know, with my fire and EMS background, and Athena had some fire and EMS background with Girdwood also, we recognized right away that there was something wrong. So we got back to the States, and then boom, we were in full bloom. I mean, we contracted with quite a few different agencies. All the airlines needed help with their pilots and transports. And, you know, I don't think anybody really knew what COVID was in the very beginning, but we went and talked to the best people. We bought the best equipment to keep our people safe, got training from it. The state came in and helped us with it. And we were really one of the ones that really jumped right after that work. And, you know, it was a really it was a turning page for us on the ambulance side. I mean, some days we were averaging 15, 25 calls a day, just running non-emergency people with positive COVID people, from people super sick to people that were just asymptomatic but need to get checked. But, you know, everybody was kind of quarantine people then, and they had to be in a quarantine area. So we definitely made our rigs where they were quarantine proof, and bought pappers and bought all the different stuff for our teams just to keep them safe. And then we just kind of grew from there.
Well, you know, I look back just thinking about that season of COVID and what that meant just in our experience in the state of Alaska. And we're not connected to the other states. Like, we've got Canada in between. And so I like to think that
Russia's close though.
Yeah, we can see it from our back porch. But really, I remember we were part of the first COVID case that came to the state.
Oh, we were the first.
And
COVID
you
case.
and I literally, like, we had to decide in that moment what was going to happen. Like, I mean, in your wisdom, you were like, we're not gonna do anything. Like, you and I bounced a bunch of different ideas. We looked at what other people were doing.
People were in panic.
And you were just like, we're gonna just sleep on this tonight.
Wow.
And we're gonna make a decision in the morning. And that morning decision was about us being united and stepping into courage, and not just shutting down and telling our employees to go home. Like, we decided that we were going to become essential services, and that we were going to come alongside our customers. That, I mean, I wrote several prepared plans for different smaller airlines that didn't have station managers. Like, we were all in to help whatever was coming our way.
Oh, it was all the way down to the point where we had pappers. We had to have guidelines on how to use pappers and how to clean them and what we're going to do to them and how we're going to take care of them, and things that we were not used to doing. But I mean, we looked at this and said, this is safety packs for it too. And you're right, partnering with our airlines and partnering with the oil fields and partnering with the different people who are bringing the oil fields in. I mean, there were some times that we had a bus, or we had 3 or 4 ambulances sitting down at an oil spill where they brought people back from the North Slope, and we had 30, 40 people that were going to different various places that they were staging people for COVID, hotels, and some were taken to the hospital, some were taken to their homes, and they were just writing out their symptoms. And that was really interesting for us. I mean, it was an interesting time, and it was paramount. It was paramount for our company. I mean, it really put us on the books of who we were doing and what we were doing right away, and we were recognized. And I think that's where it catapulted us now to where we're at now. Now we're full BLS, ALS. We have drugs on board. We carry NARCs. We carry CPR machines. We're carrying. We
have a lot of capabilities with the ambulance service now. But we really have. We really have COVID to thank for kind of like pushing us out there. I mean, we had to have been willing participants, but it in my mind, it was, we're not going to let our friends down. No. That's really,
or the community. I mean, it was everybody. It was our employees. I mean, there was a lot of people that just had bought homes the year before and new vehicles, and they were scared and they were losing their job, and
all of their friends are losing their job. And I remember this,
people staying at home,
this season of just our team members were so grateful. I can't tell you how many times somebody came up to me and just said, I'm so thankful that I have a job and I'm able to work right now.
Yeah, so many people were surprised that we were still hiring because we had such an influx and everything that was happening that we had to hire more people. And we were still hiring people when people were laying people off.
Yeah.
It was a really strong statement that we were staying strong, and our employees that were with us for 8 or 10, 12 years were so thankful that they didn't have it. They weren't looking at government handouts and everything. They wanted to work. They wanted to continue being part of the community and helping. And a lot of people ask us, how are you doing it? And especially people in our industry. You remember BAC is probably the parent company of AMT, Alaska Medical Transport. But even our industry, people are like, how are you doing it? What are you doing? I mean, what can we do to be more effective? And so we were helping companies in Chicago, helping people in Kansas, helping other people in different places.
We were.
Giving them information, how they can do barrier blocks, how they can do to keep their people safe, how they can disinfect, how they can do this stuff. And we were getting information from the state at the same time, how as things were coming in, we were getting newer and newer information, and we were trying to distribute that out to other people too. So I do think that COVID was a horrible thing. So I please want to understand that how we ended up doing, I wouldn't say well, we survived through COVID fairly well, but it wasn't anything that we wish upon anybody. I know a lot of people lost people, and a lot of people, it devastated some families and businesses, and it was heartful. I mean, hearing our friends and our 20 groups and stuff that they thought they were going to lose everything. It was just heartbreaking when we were really taking it on. But there was a lot of people that, I don't want to use the word scarce-state mindset, but they just didn't know what they didn't know. And they didn't have the experience that we did with fire and EMS and things that was going on, that we knew that we could take care of ourselves and we would be able to take care of our team members. And, thankfully, I think maybe a half dozen or dozen people in total, without the thousands of people that we transported, only caught COVID. And we couldn't even take it back to that they caught it from us. It could have been from something else.
Right.
But
like there wasn't a definitive.
There wasn't definitive, like we transported this super sick COVID patient, and a week later somebody came COVID. It was a month and a half later, and they were at an event, and all of a sudden they caught it.
That was another piece that we were really blessed, is that there was this, I think COVID went through just about everybody's workplace that was still working at some point. But we really just kind of walked through that, and I was able to get processes underneath us, and this is what we're doing. And then the CDC would change something, and I felt like I was watching that website every single day to understand what's the next step that we're doing.
Well, even having the machines that told what the person's temperature when you first walked up. I mean, I
scan their face.
I looked at it yesterday when I went to the old shop, and I saw it there, and I just laughed because I know it was like a $1,500 machine at the time. So, I mean, so getting forward in that, it's been blessed. Now we have, I think we're sitting at 30 paramedics and EMTs now, and we have instructors. We have some great management team in there now, and it's a whole different ballgame now. It's not just COVID patients anymore. COVID's so small anymore now. When you have a COVID patient, it's kind of like, wow, hey, there's one that popped up.
Kind of.
So, but now it's really walked into transports, long transports. We just had 2 North Pole transports the other day from Anchorage, and what did that entail in the middle of a snowstorm in the middle of the winter? I mean, that was an 11-hour transport, and do we have enough oxygen on board? Do we have this? Do we have the paramedics on board? Do we have all of our pain meds and everything else like there? So really now taking the state to a different level. It's with the AMT, Alaska Medical Transport, now we're doing transports from here down to Seward, down to Kenai, to Valdez, down to Tok.
Yeah, pretty much everywhere there's a road, we're willing to go.
Yeah, as long as it's safe. And as long as we can make it there and the medical needs, and if it makes sense for the patient. I mean, we never want to tell anybody that air is not a good way to go, because air from Valdez to here is an hour and 15 minutes. That makes total sense. But there's some days that they can't fly, they can't get rotors, they can't get fixed wings, and we're one of the only companies that's willing to go out and drive these long ones. So in doing that, Athena and I agreed that we get some new chassis for our rig. So now we're doing changeover on chassis on our ambulance. So we're taking 2016 ones now and sliding a brand new 2024 chassis on there. So we have 0 issues, and we have the best equipment for these people. So it has been a whirlwind, because when we first started, we were buying used ambulances, and we were getting some with like 120 or 140,000 miles on them. And
still good, and they still looked good,
and they have not failed us whatsoever. But as we're getting down the line, and same with BAC, is we don't buy the used stuff much anymore. We buy all new stuff, and then we has a shelf life, and we're turning those things over. So we've been very fortunate.
Yeah, and there was pieces of the COVID that it was like, I was so grateful for having you in that space with me, because we've known each other for so long. Like we have this good understanding of what our capabilities are. And I know that I can count on you to handle these corners and it'll be handled. And you know that you can count on me to handle these corners. And it was like, I wouldn't say that was like, I don't feel like we have an unpeaceful relationship, but that was like one of those moments in time where we just did what we needed to do. And we did have good peace within our home and in our life at that time. And all of the outside was the stuff that was the chaotic, but we could go home and all of that would go away. And that was just that I think made the difference for people that were trying to like figure this out, especially if they don't have a business partner or if they didn't have a partner that supported them through this. Like the challenges that we've been able to overcome are part of like how we're made together as one unit, taking them on.
I couldn't agree more. It was just, it was interesting because, I love the fire EMS side of it. So being in that realm with that and working with other medics and working with other people and doctors and offices and stuff like that, we were so essential to everything. I mean, literally there was a point at the time that they didn't want anybody that was non-essential to be on the roads or going to the streets or anything like that.
Or even in the hospital.
And we were totally essential and we were very helpful and we were running to the airlines. I can tell you, I don't even know how many airlines that we would have 3 or 4 ambulances sitting in front of there because we'd have all these patients coming off there and we'd get them right in there and wisp them off. And it was just it was a feel-good feeling that we were there for them. And in Athena, it goes back to the first case. Well, the first case that came into Alaska came off of one of the airlines, and a poor pilot, he had gotten it from somewhere else and he brought it here, and then he was asymptomatic and he called us and said, hey, we need to go there, and found out we had the first case. And that scared us. Because,
oh my gosh, my heart just sunk when I was like, one of our drivers transported the first COVID case.
And of course our PIO person, and I called it.
I know,
Jennifer Thompson. Love Jennifer Thompson. Gonna give her that shout out, Thompson. I called Jennifer and said, what do we do? And Jen was so great. Took my phone call at like 10 o'clock at night and just was very calm and said, hey, here's what you got. And if you have any questions about it, just send them our way. And luckily, the news department said, hey, at the Sheraton Hotel and all this and the pilot and didn't mention it. And I'm like, oh, please don't say BAC. Please don't say BAC. And it never got brought up that we were there. So we kept that quiet for a long time, but it knew that we had to change all of our practices and procedures. Yeah. And then we got Alaska Tent and Tarp involved and had them build us a bunch of barriers and partitions and all the other stuff. And the tens of thousands of dollars that we spent in just trying to make sure people safe, trying to find masks, trying to find gloves. I
actually had to sew masks. Like there was a shortage. And so
they weren't N95s at the time, but
they were cloth, but we could not buy masks at the time. And so I went to the fabric store and I sewed these masks up.
We had some friends that sewed masks and gave us 30 or 40 of them. They gave it to another airline company because everybody was trying to work together. I mean, everybody was trying to figure this out and nobody knew how long it was going to last. Yep. But I tell you, the passenger service really went down, but our cargo service just blew up.
Because everybody was shipping stuff.
Everybody was shipping any kind of containers of masks or cleaning materials or things like that. So that was just booming. And then all of a sudden we had all these new rules about how we could do it and how far people could be afar from it. And we can't have anybody sit within 6 feet of each other. So then we had designated spots on our buses that we have 2 rows in between everybody. I mean, it was just it was a full-time Jenga piece placing as we were all trying to push the places there to make everything flow very well. And then partnerships with like Beacon and other places that were helping them and they were helping other canneries. And it was just all this work was coming in and we were in the front lines. I mean, no lie. We were working our 80 hours and 8 days all day long, transporting people.
You were on the phone all hours of the night.
24 hours a day. It was nonstop. And there was, I think a lot of us were dealing through the same things. I mean, anybody that was in emergency services or workers or, and then, those people getting sick. And then we actually had some partners of ours in the fire department like, hey, Charlie, if we get it, can we stay in your parking lot where we had our storage in there? Because we have our motor home, but I don't want to bring home COVID to my family. Of course we can. We'll set up generators. We'll put extension cords out to you. Whatever we can do to help, because, these guys don't want to bring it to their kids and their family either. And we were all in the same boat together. So it was really helpful. And then calling those guys and ask them what they're using for cleaning procedures and how they were doing it. And because they were getting updates all the time too from their doctors. So we were falling upon them. And then our doctors were great. Dr. Dow and Dr. Cadigan, they were awesome too. So it was just a whole collaboration of everybody working together. It was neat to see I wouldn't say a natural disaster, but a disaster that we did have, or
how we all came through it.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say disaster. It's more of
What was the pandemic?
Academic pandemic. Yeah, that's what's the word I was looking for, a pandemic. So anyways, that's been fun. And it's now to see where we're at now, and then our new quarters, and now we have 24-hour staff on now, ambulances a day, and then teaching our own classes. We're in EMT2s and EMT3 classes. We're involved in an EMT3 class right now. We have 5 people in. So keeping that education, and then letting our partners jump involved and have their people take some EMT tests with us too. Just working with the community and different local fire departments. That's been really fun too.
Yeah, and we finished the training room last fall. So
we have a brand new training room now.
Training room, and
turned out beautiful.
One of the things that I appreciate about the stuff that we get into is that you give me room to kind of like get into my space in that. And it's like, yes, you want to be involved in ambulance operation and be understanding what's happening with the pickups and the drop-offs, and you'll go help do a lift assist even at times. Whereas like my idea is if we're going to do this, like, let's really impact the community in our state and the industry that we're working with, and offer these like training courses outside of our area. Like, one of the things that really resonated with me was when we were on the Girdwood Fire Department, it was like this running joke, because we got to know these other departments, like, oh, you don't want to get hurt there because they don't have a high competency level in their skill set. But now I look at that and it's like, wow, we really have this opportunity that we could be serving our outlining communities that don't have trainers that can fly all the way to Timbuktu, or they're actually like, they don't have the resources or the capabilities, but we could be bringing them in and having them join our classes. And that's really been this like futuristic place that we're moving to with formulating the training room and then offering these community classes that we can invite people to. And so I just really appreciate that, because I have the heart of a teacher. I want to grow and help and bring understanding and awareness to things that people are interested in. So it's been good. But really, like, where do you see the future of EMT going? Because we talk a lot about this, but really, like, we're looking to grow even more than we are right now.
Well, I think one of the bigger things is we work with all the local hospitals now, and we've gotten well known with them now, and we definitely work with our air carriers. So we partner with Guardian and LifeMed and work with those guys. And then some of our outskirts through Juneau and all those other places, we help with them with their transportations also. But we're looking to grow the ground transportation side, and that is for us to be able to take patients from here to Willow to Fairbanks to wherever they need to go. And there's some people that just can't fly because they have an aerial embolism, or they have something else that doesn't create them, but they want to get back to their hometown, and they were medevaced here because their local towns couldn't take care of what they had. Seward's a
or
great
it was
place,
emergency,
or Fairbanks or anybody else like that, Kenai Peninsula, so they needed it. So we're filling that niche, and that's been a good niche for us. But now we want to jump into sports. We want to jump into different functions.
Event medics,
telemedicine, things like this, that we can go help other different communities that haven't had this kind of opportunity before. So we look at this as just a new platform, kind of like starting BAC when we started with 2 limos and just a party bus. And now, we're 136 vehicles in our fleet for BAC. So now, I think we have more ambulance than any other department for the most part, definitely in the PAS side of it, the private ambulance. We're sitting at 8 ambulances, and we are now refurbishing our first ambulances and stuff like that. So that is nice to be able to see the different rigs are going to be able to put in service and put in there, and now be able to do sporting events and boxing. And we've been invited to the MMA fights to be medics there too. So we're going to really chase after that side of the business too. That's going to be another good sign that we could do, that we can help people with races as they're having races. We've been called out to the rodeos before, to have medics at the rodeos before. So we're out there to be able to make sure that everybody's safe and taken care of. And that's a kind of exciting part, because it's fun for our medics. And then we've been offered to go up in the North Slope too. So, we're looking at different things for the North Slope and how we can help with medical up there too. And actually taking some of our new ambulance up there and working remote sites where they need help with that. Yeah. There's a lot of great agencies that do all this other stuff. We're just giving another option, and what other can we do? And one of the bigger things we're looking at right now is that we're looking at different IV pumps. We picked up some Sapphire IV pumps, and we've just talked with the Hamilton Zoll reps about ventilators and how we're going to redo those. And now we're putting on full Lucases on the board, just all the different things that we're going to be able to take care of on our trips for our patients. So we're better prepared to be able to take more serious cardiac patients or more serious ICU patients and be able to help them and help small communities out. Like you said, there's a lot of communities that don't have ALS programs, advanced life support, because their community doesn't have the people to be able to do it. So maybe we start flying medics in, week out for some of these smaller communities that might have 1,000 people, but they don't have a paramedic or they don't have an EMT3 that can help them, but they do have nurse practitioners and doctors and nurses, but getting from their houses, the hospitals don't respond to your house. They respond in their community, and it's a total different EMS between field EMS and then the hospital settings.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
So we just definitely want to leave all those options open, and we're getting these great employees, and we're getting a lot of great employees from the bases now and paramedics that are looking for some extra work. So our skill level has gone way up. I mean, we only have a couple of EMT1s and a couple of EMT2s now, and everybody's 3s or Ps going up and above. So
yeah, Pat keeps teaching those classes and raising up our team. So.
And then that's raising up the community too. And, and there's a lot of different things. Being on the board of Southern Regional EMS, that's another great resource there too, and helping them with their, as building out EMS through the whole state of Alaska.
Yeah. The core values that we look at with BAC, they ring through to AMT.
Sure.
And what I love about the AMT team is that you're right. This job is really a calling. People who get into medical and get into this EMS realm and fire, they're called to it, or they don't stay at it. It's not really something that you're just like trying out. It's like it is fun for them to go and do these events and yeah, and it's like, and I can see just like when you're going out and you're doing this stuff, this is fun for you. And when we were younger, I didn't really understand that. I just figured, okay, if I'm going to see you on the weekends, then I guess I need to join the fire department I can. So I did. I did.
You helped. You taught BLS classes. You taught CPR classes.
Yeah.
You taught some other. You did some other classes too. That was a little bit weird. But.
I found that little niche within and that's really like the story of our lives is that we don't always have the same interests, but we find what's for us within the bigger picture, and we do it together. And so it's like, if anything, I hope that that's one of the legacies that we're leaving when our team members see us and they listen to these podcasts, is that they understand that there's this like even bigger place of just this connection and community for us in these businesses that we're a part of and we get to be a part of.
When you talk to some of the team, they always go out somewhere and they'll know that they're part of the BAC family because they're wearing a BAC jacket or hat or something like that. And do you know Charlie and Athena, or do you know this? Or I had an employee work for you, or one of my family members work for you. There's not anywhere usually we can't go that somebody hasn't touched us at least once removed.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing, because there's so many businesses have been here for so long that don't have that community involvement as much, or they don't have that connectivity, I guess. And I really love that we have the connectivity. I love that one of our employees goes over and he goes, hey, I saw Sean the other day and he says he went to high school with you, or I had somebody that says he went to college with you. And and it's just interesting to see how those people are done. And, as we were younger, we looked at some of the bigger companies that we looked up to. And I remember Rainproof Roofing comes off the top of my head, and some of these other bigger companies that people had, and thought, man, those are the big guys in town. Those guys are, man, we can make it like them.
Yes.
And now people look at us as that we're in that same kind of realm as like, hey, you guys have done so well. We got a new campus. We have a new property. It's 2.5 acres. We have a 15,000 square foot warehouse. We have a 4,000 square foot office with a 2,000 square foot apartment that is amazing for quarters for our 24-hour crews and our 12-hour crews. And, we really took it upon ourselves that we wanted something that we would see in, because we've lived in firehouses. We've been in places before. And we knew what was nice and what was not. And, some people are on different budgets, but we were fortunate enough to be able to make really nice quarters for our guys.
I'm kind of a hotel snob, and I wanted to make a place that I would be willing to sleep in.
Sure.
And so that was my whole
and we all did. I mean, and our team was super appreciative, because when they went from these other places that they were doing it,
was a big differentiation.
Like, concrete countertops, commercial stoves, 85-inch TVs, 100-inch fireplace, Fat Boy recliners. I mean, it was really nice. New washers and dryers. It's just, we really wanted to have a place that they could call home, that they would enjoy staying on their 24-hour shift. And as it grows and that things grows, it'll probably grow out of where our campus is now and into its own entirety. I mean, it'll probably have a place where it has 6 bays and everybody will be a little bit different. But, as we grow with it and we look at it, we know we want to keep going with it.
Yes. And just seeing the impact that it's making on the team and the community, and just, yeah, it's fun. It's going to be an exciting new chapter of growing AMT to the next place. And I'm grateful.
You know, it's kind of cool that some of the first people that started with us saw where we're at before, and we still have some of those people, but they've gone on and gone to other different jobs, and then they've come back and said, hey, we'd like to come back. You know, and we've brought some of the people back from the very beginning, which, you know, was only 3-4 years, 5 years ago.
Yeah,
you know, so
for AMT, yeah.
Yeah, for AMT. And they're back and seeing how much of a difference it's made in the newer rigs, the newer equipment that we're getting, and now practicing difference in what our skill sets are and what they're doing. And now they're really getting to practice it, and they're pretty excited about it, you know. And then having some people coming over from J Bear Fire and EMS, and those guys, you know, are already full-time. This is what they do, and they see something totally different here on this side. They enjoy it too. So it's really interesting and neat to be able to see the growth. But it's been, and the growth for our medics too. We had people that started with us 1s, and now they're 3s, and now they're running full cardiacs, you know, and so they're appreciative of where they got to go too. So it has a lot of impact.
Yeah. And we get to see that impact firsthand because we see it through our team.
And we
customers.
do. And they're going on vacations. We just had one of our medics that just went over across the seas. And it was one of their first times ever to do that. But she got paid leave, and she never had that before, you know. And then just seeing these different people, and we had some other people that got to go on vacations and never had a place that had there. And then we started the 401k for people, and then health benefits, and now eye and vision, and all the other different things, you know, all things that we can do as a major company that we're supporting them. Yeah. And to keep good staff. So it has been a whirlwind.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited for the future. I'm excited to find out what happens next week. I'm excited. It's all exciting. I always like variety. And so this has been my little area of variety in my life that I've just been grateful for. So
yeah, it's been a good ride.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining us on episode 2. I hope that you got something awesome from this episode and hearing some of our stories and just some of the things that we've overcome. And we look forward to seeing you back for episode 3.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Bye.